Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us for this special Change for Climate Lunchbox series. Their session today is about neighboring for climate. And the session is designed to inspire you to participate in this program as a climate connector. So we'll see how we do on that front as the session goes on and see how many follow-up emails we get afterward. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm Heather Wheelaker, and I'm here with my colleagues, Adam Holmes and Karen Young. We work in the Planning and Environmental Services branch with the city. And just to note, this session will be recorded. To begin, the City of Edmonton acknowledges the traditional land on which we reside is Treaty 6 territory. We thank the diverse Indigenous people whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and the home of one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It's a welcoming place for all people who come from around the world to share Edmonton as a home. Together, we call upon all of our collective honored traditions and spirits to work in building a great city for today and for future generations. You're going to learn about the new Neighbouring for Climate pilot program and toolkit. I'm a program manager with the Change for Climate program at the City of Edmonton, and with me to present today is Adam Holmes, a program coordinator also with Change for Climate. So I know that you're excited to see the toolkit, and here's just a sneak version of it, but we're going to start with some background context. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam, who is going to tell us just a bit about climate changes projected for Adam. And this will give you just a sense of some of the reasons for this Neighbouring for Climate program. So over to you, Adam.
Great, thank you very much, Heather. So the Neighbouring for Climate program has been contemplated for several years, but was delayed due to the pandemic. So thankfully, we were able to move forward last fall. And before we delve into the program details, I'm going to provide some information about climate change in Edmonton. And this context will help explain why we've developed the Neighbouring for Climate program. So the program itself, the Neighbouring for Climate program, aims to empower citizens to collaborate in adapting to climate change and reducing emissions. And while it may seem like citizens' efforts go unnoticed at times, Edmontonians have consistently shown their genuine concern about climate change. Our annual citizen perception surveys reveal that 75% of respondents consider climate change a concern, and the same percentage agrees that immediate action is necessary. So what guides this work on climate change? Edmonton's city plan charts out how we will create a city that has the benefits we enjoy today with new opportunities for the future. It provides overall direction for how the city will develop as our population grows. And within the city plan are sub-plans, two of which specifically address climate change. The city is committed to supporting residents in their efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate climate change. And this is the focus of Edmonton's Community Energy Transition Strategy and Action Plan. However, as we're already experiencing the effects of climate change, we need to be prepared, adapt to these changes, and take action to manage the risks of climate change. Adaptation is the focus of the Climate Resilient Edmonton Adaptation Strategy and Action Plan. So it's been clear from conversations with colleagues and citizens alike that we understand what greenhouse gas emissions are and the need to reduce them. The city's energy transition strategy has emissions reductions and local energy generation targets around that. So as you can see on the screen, different targets set for 2025, 2030, and 2050. So in 2018, the adaptation strategy was released, and it sets us on a number of paths to actions that both the city and community can do to minimize climate risks. And Neighbouring for Climate, which we are presenting today aligns with the Adaptation Action Plan and the Energy Transition Strategy and Action Plan. Now, I'll take a moment to give an overview of the projected climate changes for Edmonton. As a starting point, we'll briefly review the differences between weather and climate. So you've probably experienced times when one Edmonton neighborhood had sunshine, while another across the city experienced heavy rain. This is weather. And when we talk about climate, we're looking at the larger patterns over longer periods of time. While the climate is the same in two neighborhoods, the weather they experience can be very different. However, it's important to note that extreme weather events are symptoms of a warming climate, and that's what we're beginning to experience. So, what can we generally expect for Edmonton in terms of climate change impacts? Warmer winters with more frequent freeze-thaw cycles, which can lead to icy or slushy conditions on the roads and sidewalks, making it challenging to get around safely. And while we can expect warmer winters overall, we may still experience periods of deep cold that we're all very familiar with here. We can also expect wetter springs, with rainfall becoming more intense and leading to overland flooding conditions. So in terms of flooding projections, the risk for Edmonton is primarily limited to overland flooding caused by extreme and intense downpours of rain. And while there is a projection that river flooding could double, the current risk is less than 1%. So even doubling its risk puts it at less than 2%. So therefore, we need to be more concerned about overland floods caused by that pooling water in our neighborhoods due to those heavy downpours. We can also expect hotter and drier summers, which can have a significant impact on our ability to grow food. Some recent examples of food supply chain shortages caused by flooding or drought, heat waves, and other climate change related reasons include things like lettuce, rice, and vegetable oil. And the heat can also affect our comfort levels, so indoors and out. Parts of the city that are dominated by concrete or lack of shade trees, or homes that don't have air conditioning or a cool basement to escape to, can make the heat even more uncomfortable. We expect to see warmer and wetter fall seasons. And the warming and drying climate will cause long-term ecological change, which means that we'll see gradual shifts in the types of plant and animal species that thrive in certain areas over time. And we call this ecological shift. The grasslands from the south are gradually moving northward, and by the 2050s, we can expect to see plants that are more adapted to the grasslands outcompeting those of the northern forest. These changes won't happen suddenly or dramatically overnight, but gradually over time. So while this on your screen is an artist's rendering, it illustrates the potential for significant changes in the ecosystem if a pest outbreak or wildfire were to occur, for example. So the forest may grow back, but it may support different species that are better suited to a hotter and drier climate. Now, this slide shows some examples of direct damages, direct service losses, and indirect service losses from extreme weather events. So direct damages include high winds creating damage to buildings from toppling trees or tearing off roofs, or freezing rain events creating terrible driving conditions. Direct service losses might be a result of flooding to a business or a power outage, meaning it must close its doors until it's safe to invite customers back. And indirect service losses could be, for example, flood conditions that prevent employees or customers to travel to the business to work or to make a purchase. So climate change is impacting our health, both physically and mentally. Heat waves, for example, can cause heat exhaustion and heat stroke, while poor air quality from wildfires and other sources can exacerbate respiratory problems. The aftermath of extreme weather events and wildfires can also take a toll on mental health, causing stress and anxiety. And in terms of the environment, climate change is causing changes in ecosystems, including changes in plant and animal populations, as well as in the timing of natural events like migration and blooming. It's also leading to the loss of habitats and biodiversity, as well as changes in the availability of water resources. So, how do we plan and prepare for these impacts? We position ourselves to be better able to withstand and adapt to these changes and better able to help our neighbors, which is why we've developed the Neighbouring for Climate program. And to introduce you to the program, I will turn the presentation back over to Heather.
Great, thank you, Adam. See, I let Adam deliver all of the bad news. And so now I'm going to deliver the good news on what we're going to do about this. Thanks very much, Adam, for that introduction about the climate changes that are projected for Edmonton. So before I get into Neighbouring for Climate, I'm going to share a bit about Abundant Community Edmonton, also known as ACE. So Get Neighbouring is a program that was developed and delivered through the city's ACE team in community services. Neighbouring for Climate was designed to fit into this successful model. And if you're not familiar with Get Neighbouring, or if your neighborhood does not participate in it, that's okay. But if you are involved in Get Neighbouring, you will see how these two programs are aligned. The ACE program identifies 4 reasons for why it's important that neighbors know each other. One is to feel connected and included. Another reason is for improved health. Thirdly, to create a more caring community. And lastly, for safety reasons. Research tells us that knowing as few as 6 neighbors reduces the likelihood of feeling lonely and is linked to lower depression and social anxiety. So the benefits of neighboring, they are peer-reviewed and researched around the world. And when you look at the words on this slide, you see how a neighborhood is much more than a geographic area. It's a place we call home. It's where we have the most invested, both financially and emotionally. And if we care about any place in our community, it would quite likely be our immediate block, our building, or our street. For example, if we have safety concerns where we live, it's within our power to connect with our nearby neighbor to increase safety and security. And in fact, police officers or emergency preparedness experts see the benefit of connected residents, and they advocate for building neighbor-to-neighbor relationships. In times of crisis, whether it's big, like an ice storm, with an extended power outage, or small, someone falls and scrapes their leg, neighbors can be on the scene much faster than our first responders. And you can see on this slide that the benefits to Abundant Community Edmonton overlap nicely with our work in climate resilience. So for both the ACE program and Neighbouring for Climate, the city is providing tools for citizens to get to know their neighbors. And these are the people who live next door and down the street, the people on your block. Many blocks make up a community, or officially called neighborhood in the city plan, and many neighborhoods make up a city district, and those 15 districts make up the city. But these programs both focus on connections at the block level, connecting with 5 to 30 homes up and down your street. One neighborhood connector, Penny, she initiated the Get Neighbouring program through ACE. She didn't just want this to succeed on her block, but she took on the entire community. And that's not really what we're asking you to sign up for. But she identified block connectors throughout her entire community. She signed up 13 connectors, blocks that didn't have a connector. Some of those connectors took on 2 or more blocks. So this is in Windsor Park in Edmonton. And those block connectors actually decided where their blocks started and ended. So there's no real right or wrong way to approach this program. The Neighbouring for Climate program is designed to layer on to ACE's already successful Get Neighbouring program, tapping into its network of block connectors. But as I said, if your neighborhood is not an ACE community, that's okay too, because we've built in tools to help you to get to know your neighbors. So with that, I am now going to describe Neighbouring for Climate. So it was designed with help from citizens working with us over 3 months last fall. And what we heard loud and clear was no more strategies, no more plans. We want to act on climate change. Some of the same benefits of neighbouring identified by Abundant Community Edmonton are the same ones that were identified through the Neighbouring for Climate program. And these came out through our workshops with citizens. So why should we get neighboring for climate? Well, climate action is much more effective when we work together. By supporting one another, we can create resilient neighborhoods that benefit everyone. Themes that arose in our program design workshops were social benefits, working with our neighbors to prepare for emergencies, to build community, and to share skills. There are health benefits, for example, walking and biking together for exercise, growing and sharing local food. There are environmental benefits, such as decreasing greenhouse gas emissions, reducing waste, improving energy efficiency, improving drought tolerance, air and water quality management, and so on. And there are also financial benefits when you buy in bulk or save energy and maintenance costs, reducing recovery costs from extreme weather events. So now I'll walk through the toolkit. Actually, just before we get to the cool toolkit, I'll let you know that based on conversations with community members last fall, another clear outcome from these workshops was direction on what the program should focus on and what it should be. So again, they said it needs to be action focused, focus on things to do, not just education and strategies. Make it easy and tangible, help neighbors to tackle simple, achievable changes together, make it inclusive and accessible, include actions that anyone can do, regardless of age, ability, resources, comfort. It's meant to be an entry point for everyone. Make it shareable, create a program that neighbors can use together and spread to others. We want it to be able to celebrate and spotlight actions that neighbors are taking, and make it beyond climate. Be sure to highlight benefits and use language that sparks interest beyond climate action, because people are motivated by different things. We also wanted to better understand the people that we were designing this program for. And so we hope that you can see yourself as someone who could participate as a climate connector on your block and be able to find neighbors to work with you. This program is designed for all skills and abilities, whether someone is a longtime resident or new to the area, someone who's highly connected in your community or doesn't know anyone, someone who has different circumstances or challenges like living alone or mobility challenges, income, language barriers. It's for someone who has different things to offer, whether that's volunteer time, skills to use, skills to teach. And it's also for those who are climate change advocates, as much as it is for climate change skeptics. So it was clear from our citizen advisors that there is a diverse range of experiences that need to be addressed through this program. And I will say this, that although we created the program to work with all sorts of people, it was developed specifically and intentionally for those who live in single family homes or duplexes or fourplexes on a street, but not for those who live in condos or apartments or larger multifamily buildings. But we do plan to create a program for that audience later this year or next. So if that is you, you are welcome to go online, have a look at all of the tools and definitely adapt them and let us know how that works. But it was not intentionally designed for people living in multifamily buildings. So that's coming soon. Stay tuned, hopefully next year. So the toolkit components, we don't just send you out on your own to engage with your neighbors. We've got a few tools that you can use. One is a short starter's guide. There's also a set of about 60 action cards for you and your neighbors to pick and choose from, and even some blank cards so you can add your own actions. And online, you're going to find links to background information and other programs and pieces of information that may be helpful to implementing some of the action cards. Residents of Edmonton who decide that you're going to lead the program in your neighborhood, you will be provided with a printed toolkit. And there's really no wrong way to use the kit, just as there's no real right way. The starter guide explains different notations on the cards and provides extra tips on how you might use them. And I'll just hold up the cards here. You can see there's different colors, and I'll talk about the color coding. And it's a good sized deck of cards. I'll put my hand up next to them, and you can see that it's a little bit larger than a deck of cards that you might play. playing cards, but not much larger. The program itself is designed to help citizens to work together to lower emissions and to adapt your blocks for a changing climate. Also to get to know each other in the event of an emergency. Just look at the fire smoke and the heat that we experienced the past week. Who is checking on elderly people on your street to ensure the heat is not unbearable? Or who's checking on those who have compromised breathing or immune systems? Who are you going to call upon in the event of a lengthy power outage? We're all in this together, and there's strength in numbers. Knowing your neighbors provides those who need a little extra attention a sense of security. And those of us who can go the extra mile, it leaves us with a good feeling of being able to help others. In times of a crisis, those who are used to giving more may find ourselves in a situation where we too need to take help offered by our neighbors. So the action cards are intended to help people identify things that you can do with your neighbors that will have a positive impact on climate change and that will work for everyone involved. The activities are meant to help us prepare our communities one street at a time to reduce risks posed by climate change. So before the heavy rain falls, we have already noted where water tends to pool and have worked on a solution. Before high winds blow, we have already identified trees that are weak and have sought help to remove those limbs before they break off and do damage. These are just some of the examples of how this program is designed to help citizens prepare for and adapt to a changing climate. The action cards themselves make it feel a little bit different, I would hope, from yet another document. But it also has some really practical benefits that help to address things that the community advisors we worked with that they had suggested to us. They wanted to be able to sit down together, let's say at a kitchen table or at a community event, and work through the bite-sized information pieces. And that would keep it digestible and not too overwhelming. They wanted to be able to easily sort and share activities of interest. These are all color-coded according to theme, and the blue on this slide shows our theme of water conservation and water management actions. So the cards, though they're small, they do pack in a lot of information to help you to choose what's going to work best for you. And you can choose to do one action or many actions. And we would hope that one action in with your neighbors would lead to a second and a third and maybe up to 5 actions this summer. So each card includes a title, the whys. Why are you doing this action? Why take action? The level, is it a starter action or is it a higher level? How much effort do you need to put into this? The season, can it be planned in spring and completed by fall, or is it a winter activity? And there are also tags for consideration. For example, is this well suited for a family? Does it mean purchasing in bulk? Is it an event? Do you need city permission for this activity? The back of each card indicates some introductory tips on how to take this action with more information available on the website, just in case you want to learn a little bit more. The next up section offers suggestions of other actions that might pair well with this work, just to keep the momentum going. And each card is numbered too. The community members who helped us to design the program, they contributed many of the actions that you can find in the card deck. We divided them into 5 topic categories just to make it a little bit easier to choose actions based on interests and passions in your neighborhood. Some categories, they do overlap with others, so we encourage you to mix and match activities. The next up section of the cards that I mentioned earlier is useful to connect actions to each other. So knowing that everyone is entering into this work at different levels of comfort and experience, there are also some starter cards for those who might need a little bit of extra support to get started. Like, how do I even get to know my neighbor? Or where am I going to start learning about climate change? And of course, each category or theme of cards includes blank cards so that you can collect new ideas. So I've mentioned the program is based on working together with neighbors on your block. And again, it's not 500 homes in your community. It's just the neighbors up and down your street. So we've included some postcards in the kit for you to fill out and leave at your neighbors, and more can be downloaded and printed from the website too. So all of these materials are available online and you can view on the website or you can print at home. And as I said, those of you who are going to sign up to help us pilot this program over the summer and be a climate connector, we will make sure that you get a physical kit in your hands that you can use as well. Under additional resources on the website, you'll find a link to existing sites and organizations that are doing work in this space. The intention is not to recreate what already exists, but to simplify information on the cards and direct people to resources where you can find more information. So in terms of the timeline and next steps for this program, after working with citizens last fall to develop it, the pilot program was officially launched in April of this year, so just a couple of months ago. We distributed toolkits to neighborhoods and block leaders across the city, and they're using them right now. So as a pilot program, learning and testing this information and the program itself is crucial. So we've built in a few checkpoints along the way to see how it's going. If you sign up to coordinate this on your street or block, we will provide you with the printed kit materials, and we'll be in touch again sometime in July to see how things are progressing and to see if you need some additional support. At the close of the pilot in the fall, we will be collecting feedback from all of the climate connectors to learn how we can refine the program. And we anticipate that we'll have a full program rollout in 2024. So now it's your turn. Have we provided you with enough information to entice you to sign up and participate in this pilot program? If you're interested, all you need to do is email us at changeforclimate@edmonton.ca. And in the subject line, you can write neighboring or pilot or climate connector or something to identify your interest. And then we're going to connect with you, and we'll equip you with a toolkit so you can get started. We'll want to know your name, the name of the community or neighborhood that you're working in, and the best way to contact you by email or by phone. Because we do want to test this out and make changes according to feedback from you. That's the only way we can improve this program. We took it as far as we could, and now we want all of our climate connectors to tell us what more or what less it needs and what needs to be changed. So we will work with you over the summer and do a big evaluation in the fall. So thank you everyone for participating in our webinar today, for attending. You can visit edmonton.ca/climate neighbours for program information and links to the digital version of the starter guide, toolkit, and additional resources. And again, don't forget to email us. Change for Climate is the city's public-facing program that works to inform Edmontonians about climate change. It provides citizens with a place to share climate stories, climate actions, and to encourage climate action across the entire community. If you join the movement, you will show your support for climate change, make your actions count, and you'll get to receive our Newsy newsletter too, if you're not already signed up. So there are many, many ways to stay informed about the city's climate change work. So be sure to follow us, whether on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or all of those spaces. Finally, thank you very much, my colleague Karen Young, for handling all of the logistical pieces to make this happen, and Adam Holmes, my colleague, for co-presenting with me. And of course, you, our audience, participants, I do hope, even if you said in the poll you're not going to pilot it this year, maybe you'll have a change of heart, and we'll pilot this Neighbouring for Climate program. And those of you who are keen to help out with that, we do look forward to hearing from you too. So have a terrific afternoon, everyone, and thanks again.